OpenAI just launched Custom GPTs and the GPT Store, which is about to kill Apple's App Store for up-and-coming tech entrepreneurs and businesses. Because for the last 15 years, the Apple App Store have been minting billionaire after billionaire that all seem to have the same exact skill set: coding. And it's that one skill that's been keeping people like you from creating Uber before Travis or Snapchat before Evan. But this is why Microsoft and OpenAI are about to completely change the game. Because with Custom GPTs, you don't even need to know how to code.
We know that many people who want to build the GPT don't know how to code. We've made it so that you can program the GPT just by having a conversation. We believe that natural language is going to be a big part of how people use computers in the future, and we think this is an interesting early example.
Apple is currently valued at over $2 trillion, most of that being due to the massive profits that they get from their App Store. So at first glance, it doesn't look like Apple has anything to worry about, because billions of people use apps from their App Store every day, and they still have a stranglehold on a bunch of high-end devices. But even though Apple reigns supreme as the most valuable company in the world, the one place that they're losing ground on is AI. That title belongs to Microsoft, Apple's biggest competitor on the global stage, who recently invested $10 billion in OpenAI because of their groundbreaking AI application, ChatGPT. And just now, OpenAI launched the GPT Store, which is the watershed moment that's going to change all of our futures as we know it. Because what I want to put you on in this video is how a boring text application and prompt crafting can escalate into something that can impact your everyday life. Because whether you like it or not, Custom GPTs is about to change everything. But you know what? Think about it like this. Do you remember how Apple first dropped this App Store and everything was turned into an app?
If you want to check snow conditions on the mountain, there's an app for that.
Well, guess what? Everything is about to be made into a custom GPT too. Like a Fitness GPT for crafting your diets and workouts, a Travel GPT for planning your dream vacations, Legal GPTs that's streamlining mountains of paperwork, Finance GPTs that manages your money and investments. There's gonna be GPTs for learning history, solving math problems, scripting YouTube videos, even writing movies. So yeah, just like 10 years ago when everybody had an idea for a new app,
If anyone wants to develop an app with me, I'm down.
He seems to really want to develop an
He really
app.
does, sweetie, but nobody's gonna do that.
well, get ready for this new wave, because in this new world, everything is about to have a customized GPT, except for like nature or something like that. So these GPTs are about to become a new thing, but it's not just about custom GPTs for people like you and me. It's also about big businesses. The big businesses need custom GPTs.
For our enterprise customers, we launched ChatGPT Enterprise. You can make GPTs just for your company.
They need GPTs for crafting legal documents. They need GPTs for tax strategy. They need GPTs for advanced communications. They need GPTs to stay ahead of the competition. Because these custom GPTs are about to represent more profits.
Cause I'm on top of the world. I'm on top of the world. Yeah.
In 2007, Apple was right on the verge of changing the world because smartphones at the time were becoming a thing. But they kind of looked like this. Bulky, ugly phones that was hard to use. All of them having different sizes and different buttons. They were ugly and inefficient. It wasn't anything special about smartphones yet. But then Steve Jobs and the Apple team had a very simple idea: to get rid of these. the buttons.
But what we're going to do is get rid of all these buttons and just make a giant screen. A giant screen.
They were static and completely limiting to innovation. That, and there was this new technology that was recently invented called Multitouch. And it was a huge breakthrough because it allowed us to stop having to use this. A stylus. You see, Apple's idea was to get rid of the stylus and get us to use something that's, well, a little more handy.
We're going to use the best pointing device in the world. We're going to use a pointing device that we're all born with. We're born with 10 of them. We're going to use our fingers.
Which sounds kind of obvious now, but at the time, it was a really big deal. So, this new multi-touch technology became the foundation of the iPhone, the phone that would completely change the world. But a little over a year later, on a random day in July, Steve Jobs held a special event in a room with less than 100 people. It was small and intimate, only meant for a few key young minds. But that was kind of the point. Because it was at this event, this obscure conversation in a room full of tech nerds that you could have watched online, that made more billionaires than any other event in the history of the world. Don't remember it? Well, maybe that's because you were distracted by this. Or this.
No, you complete me.
Or this. Or this.
Gratitude and great humility, I accept your nomination for presidency of the United States.
And this.
This new war between Russia and Georgia looks like it could be the deadliest conflict in Europe since World War II.
The point being, on this random day in 2008, when the world had you distracted by other things, you missed out on an event that could have completely changed your life. The day that the App Store was born.
The App Store is going to be the exclusive way to distribute iPhone applications directly to every iPhone user.
And what's crazy is by then, all of us had already heard of this thing called the iPhone that was going to change the world, and now we can build and sell these things called apps from a place called the App Store. And after we heard that, guess what we did? We shrugged it off. Why should I care about apps in an app store? How is that going to change my life? Right? Well, that is until this happened.
Instagram, a company with only 13 employees, bought today by Facebook for $1 billion.
Instagram's 13 employees work out of a conference room in Silicon Valley. Today, these young entrepreneurs are worth more than if they'd won the Powerball.
You see, the sale of Instagram to Facebook changed everything. Because here it is, an 18-month-old application that had a little over a dozen employees that just sold for $1 billion. The next thing you know, there's a dozen billionaire app makers cashing out left and right. By now, that's when you're probably thinking, well, damn, I could have come up with an idea for a mobile app for taxis.
An iPhone application that leads you via your GPS to the nearest acceptable toilet wherever you are in the world.
The iToilet, and I thought of it.
Well, guess what? Fast forward 15 years and that exact moment is happening again. Because here we have another billionaire CEO that just launched a revolutionary product a year ago, that just announced the launch of their new app store that will give millions of users access to software that you can build. Sound familiar? And it's no coincidence that this CEO just so happened to share the stage with that CEO the day that the App Store was announced.
I'd like to invite up Sam Altman. Sam?
We are incredibly psyched about Looped on the iPhone, and very happy to announce that Looped will be free on the iPhone and in the App Store at launch.
But I need you to understand that there is a big difference between custom GPTs and mobile apps, because custom GPTs are going to take over the world way faster than mobile apps ever did. Don't believe me? Well, take a look at this. Because by the time Apple announced the App Store, the iPhone had less than 2 million users worldwide, while when ChatGPT announced its App Store, it has over 180 million. So to put things into perspective, that's more than all of the iPhone sales in the world for the first 5 years combined. And when Instagram sold their mobile app to Facebook in 2012, they had over 50 million users. And I promise you, there will be a custom GPT that will reach over 50 million users in its first 6 months. So by now, hopefully you understand how big of a deal custom GPTs are about to be, which probably leaves you with one question. What the hell is a custom GPT? This is ChatGPT, an AI chatbot that uses a pre-trained transformer that generates text that can be just as smart as humans in a lot of ways. Now, in order for me to put you on GPTs and how they work, I first got to explain how AI works in general. So think about it like this. All AI tools can be broken down into three main parts. The first part is the dataset. Now, think of datasets as the school textbooks for AI. It's the images, the text, the video, or the audio files that's used to train the AI. So for example, for ChatGPT, its datasets comes from different texts like websites, books, or even movie scripts. Think of a dataset like a library, with books being the stuff that you want the AI to know. Now the next part for AI is something called a model, which is like the brain for the AI. Models are the rules or the patterns that AI uses to make sense of all of the data. Think of models as like the strategies that you use to solve a problem or to understand a story. So just like you could use a bunch of different strategies to solve a problem, an AI could use a bunch of different models to process some data. And so ChatGPT is built using a popular model called a transformer. Think of a transformer model like a really smart robot that can read a lot of books super fast. And it can remember everything it just read and use it to answer questions, write stories, or even change one language into another.
We discovered that with very few amounts of prompting in Bengali, it can now translate all of Bengali. So now all of a sudden, we now have a research effort where we're now trying to get to 1,000 languages.
But this robot don't just read words like we do. Nah, it actually can take in a whole sentence or big chunks of sentences all at once. It helps it understand what the whole text is about. For example, a transformer can know that the word bat can mean something different in a baseball game and when you're talking about an animal. And it does this by using its special trick that it calls attention, which helps it focus on the most important parts of what it's reading or writing. So basically, a transformer model is like a computer brain that's super good with words. It learns from a whole lot of text and knows how to zoom in on the really important parts to understand and generate sentences that make sense. So that's the second part of AI. But then there's the last part, which is something called compute. And think of this as like the real-life hardware used to power and train the model that analyzes the data. And this compute can only be powered by these super rare advanced microchips called GPUs, to which 92% of the chips that power every AI tool in the world are manufactured by one company in Taiwan, which, by the way, is one of the main reasons that the US and China are beefing. But I'll get into that in another video. I just want you to think about compute as the muscle that does all of the heavy lifting. It's the energy that powers the AI, allowing it to learn. And it's this company that has damn near monopoly on the entire industry that is compute, which I did a whole video on that you can go and check out. Now, all of these three parts, they work together like a team. The dataset provides the knowledge, the model is the brain that makes sense of it, and the compute is the muscle, the energy that powers it all. Now, when and only when you combine all three, you can build something really smart, something that learns, something like a chatbot that's pre-trained on text from a bunch of different places, that uses a transformer model that processes the text and generates a response. The only thing left is to get his tool a name that explains what it does, but that's easy to remember. And of course, once over 100 million people starts using this chatting, generative, pre-trained transformer, they're all going to want the same thing. Because everyone who uses this thing, whether it's people or businesses or governments, they're all going to want their own customized, generative, pre-trained transformer that's trained on the knowledge that they wanted to have. But there's only one problem, like building a custom GPT is really, really hard. Until now. Let me ask you something. Do you remember the scene from The Matrix? You know, when Neo goes through a whole series of training in order to truly be ready to enter the Matrix.
Combat training.
Well, congratulations, because believe it or not, if you understand that scene, then you already know how custom GPTs work.
Jiu-jitsu? I'm going to learn jiu-jitsu.
Because watch this. All Tank is doing is taking a data set
Combat training.
That's using a model that allows him to train or customize a GPT. So, just like Neo can learn Kung Fu or fly a helicopter in seconds through whatever data Tanks gives him, your custom GPT will become an expert in whatever data you give it. But that's not all, because when you build your custom GPTs, you can do more than just make it an expert in stuff. You can decide to give it actions too, which instantly changes it from a custom GPT to, well, an agent.
Eventually, you'll just ask the computer for what you need, and it'll do all of these tasks for you. These capabilities are often talked in the AI field about as agents.
You hear that, Mr. Anderson? That is the sound of inevitability.
Yeah, you heard that right. So not only can you train your GPT using the TripAdvisor reviews of every person that ever visited Paris, you can also train it to take the action to book tickets to all of the best experiences based upon what it is that knows you like. Or maybe you want a Fitness GPT that takes all of the scripts of all of your videos posted by your favorite fitness influencer and gives you a daily workout team based upon your own personal goals. You see, this is why custom GPTs are about to be the next big thing. Because when you take a super intelligent transformer and train it on whatever specific data that you wanted to know, and then tell it to take an action, and you give that customized GPT to millions of people around the world. Well, guess what? You just might have something that's worth a couple $1 billion.